Hi, it's Marvin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the left hook. Before we get started, I want to remind you to hit that like button so we can bring you more content. All right, let's go. All right, so starting off with the left hook, we're going to go over the technique. We're going to talk about some things that are common to the way it's taught, and we're going to discuss those, and I'm going to show you some techniques that I think kind of fit in and make it a lot more dynamic, a lot easier to deliver when you understand certain objectives that you're trying to hold. So first, we're coming off on the true boxer stance. So everything starts from the true boxer stance. When you're here, you understand the elements of holding everything at an angle here. So what we're trying to do is understand the dynamics of the punch first. The dynamics of the punch, and when people will show you the left hook, they think that because the punch comes from around to the outside, that automatically makes it a hook. What makes it a hook is honestly the form of the hand. Okay? So the form of the punch is from here. So the left hook is actually supposed to be delivered closer. The way boxing has just kind of evolved and what people are used to accepting, they'll accept a hook here when it's really not a hook. But because we don't reposition and we don't use the footwork to establish what we're trying to set up, then it's acceptable. And this is what we see a lot more of. Now, that's not to talk down on any other style. That's just the way boxing has progressed. That's what you're going to see. Is it ineffective to do it that way? No, you're going to see a lot of knockouts. You're going to see a lot of knockdowns. You're going to see all of those things. So it's not that I'm talking against anything. I'm just showing the technique in the way that it should be delivered. That's it. So when we understand, and once you incorporate the footwork, it becomes easier and a lot more, within reach to do some of the things that we're doing here. So the key to it, when you're here, a lot of times you will see people when they load up on their hook, in order to find that torque or find that power in their hook, they will drop the opposite shoulder. You'll see a lot of that, and I'm exaggerating that, and it's not, I'm exaggerating just to show for effect, but you'll see a lot of the torquing and then coming back around with that hook. But that is because you're standing in the exact same spot, so that's the way they're generating the power to throw it in there. So it is necessary to do it that way if you are not going to reposition, okay? So when we're looking at it, you're standing straight on with your opponent. A lot of times that's when people will try to throw the hook around his guard, all right? And that's where it's usually generated, and that's where it's usually looked at as a great way to score, because his hands are in front of him and you're going around his guard. When we understand the footwork, you actually move, if his guard is in here and you can shift off of that, it actually opens a lane for you to throw the hook. But it's all about being able to reposition. So a lot of people will also throw their head over their lead foot and then come back with a hook from here. It's, like I said, it's very common. It's unnecessary. If you can come reposition here as opposed to leaning in here to throw the hook, if you were to slide your hips and reposition here, now you see the proper alignment here, and the hook comes right out where it should. Comes right across, and then you're back out. And you can go right back into the true boxer stance, reposition, and you don't have to sell out so much to get that. So we want to make sure that the technique is coming from here. Now you're generating the power from that hook here. What is commonly taught, and what a lot of people hold on to as an element of throwing the hook, is you will hear people tell you to rotate. I've heard it demonstrated different ways. Sometimes they'll tell you to rotate the heel up or to turn on the balls of your foot. Okay? When you're focusing more on manipulating the foot, it actually affects your balance more. All right? And I know a lot of people argue with me on that. Trust me, once you do it and you try to and you see the difference and you stop focusing on your foot and understand that you're actually torquing from your hip. Now, what happens when you do that is that as you torque from your hip, your foot will move. So it's not the focus on the foot, the focus is on your hip. The result is that your foot will change position slightly. When you focus on your foot, you will exaggerate the movement of that foot, and it will affect your balance, it will affect your punch. Trust me on that. If you understand that you're actually generating the hip to get the power on that. So you're coming across this way and driving through. Now, delivery of the punch. What we have to recognize here is that the only thing that we really have a lot of times protecting us is our positioning and our hands in place. All right, so the form has to stay in place. So when you're throwing this left hook, the one thing with the loading is very common, and another thing, to generate power, we reach back here. Everybody wants to reach and bring all of this travel to bring it into to the delivery. Once again, that comes from not generating the power from the hips. Once you come in, you recognize you can drop in here and just generate the power from your hips, you can make contact from here. Now, also, generating the power from your hips allows you the proper channel, the travel on your punch, okay? So when I say proper travel on the punch, we step away from the bag for a minute. If we generate the power by reaching back, if you reach back here, the over travel is also excessive. So if the reach back is excessive, the over travel is excessive. So if you ever miss that shot, you find yourself here. So when we generate the power from here, we shift in and we throw it, and everything comes here, it comes right back into place. That's the only travel you want on that hook, is from here, here, here. And you can come right back into the rest of your game and right back into your true boxer stance. Okay? We feel as though we have to load up to generate for the left hook. All right? Like I said, you're going to have big arguments on that to say that it has to be done. The reason why that is done is because the footwork is not taught or incorporated properly. So if you don't incorporate the footwork and reposition, then one of the only ways you can really generate power on that is to turn in and out and throw your hook, all right? But you're standing in the same spot. So when you recognize that if this is your target, this is your opponent, and you want to throw your hook and you don't move your feet, then you're going to have to turn to generate that torque, and then you're just basically swinging your body through, and you're going to make a lot of impact. So that makes the punch seem effective. When you push, understanding that you're moving from your hips, and you're here, you reposition from here to slightly here. Now, from where you are on your opponent, you don't have to load up this way. From here, you're going to generate that power from the hip and push it straight through on your opponent. From there, it's coming right off that hook, and you can come right back into true boxer stance. Okay, so the power is going to come from having your feet under you, coming, and you're generating that, torquing it from your hip, as opposed to loading your shoulders. To load your shoulders actually changes your position and your sight on your target. This is why I teach against it, okay? Because to come in here, to see your opponent here, to step in and throw this hook here, if I'm looking at my opponent already, if the target is still there, then I can send it. If I were to make this move here, turn here, my target moves or changes in any way, when I come up, I have to hope I can still make contact, because I've lost sight of him for a time that allows him to maneuver and get away from that. And at the same time, if I'm moving in and holding that position, I'm still looking at my opponent. If I can step in here and he moves, I can come right back out. I don't even have to throw the punch, because I'm going to maintain control of my movement, my balance, everything that I have, all of my tools will stay in alignment. So if he makes a change, I'm able to make a change. I am not committed to throwing that punch at any time. If everything is where it should be, I deliver the shot. If it's not, I can adjust. That's going to go with everything in this style. That's what we're always going to be looking at, is balance. Always going to be looking at control. If you lose the balance, if you lose control, you're susceptible to things happening that you don't have the ability to kind of adjust on. Okay? And that's what we never want to lose.